language model is a program that has been trained on a set of data to recognize certain patterns or make certain decisions without further human intervention. So how does it work? Usually, an AI model needs to store a lot of data. So siya yung foundation ni ChatGPT. It can store up to, I think, 1 petabyte or more pa of data. And that's where it gets all of its information from. Now, what does ChatGPT do with that? The next step would be architecture. So when we talk about architecture, it talks about the transformers that ChatGPT uses. And these transformers determine how to process that data. Okay? And after it determines how to process the data, it then moves on to training. So dito na tayo papasok. If you notice, whenever we use ChatGPT and we talk about certain information, especially in our line of work, right? Mapapansin nyo si ChatGPT, nagiging mas tailored na yung responses niya. Did you notice that? Right? So that's why ChatGPT and this type of AI is amazing, because you can essentially train it. Hindi katulad ng mga older versions of AI. Okay? Now, there are a lot of different LLMs or yung mga katulad ni ChatGPT available, and here are some of them. But mostly, mas ginagamit ng karamihan si OpenAI or si ChatGPT na. Okay? Now, let's talk about some of the benefits and limitations of ChatGPT in our roles in customer service. Can you think of some of the benefits that you have experienced so far when using ChatGPT?
For me, whenever I craft emails, if I use ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure that the grammar and everything else in the email would be correct. So
Very
yeah,
true,
that's
no?
one of the benefits.
Very true. Very little na yung need for proofreading ng grammar, ng punctuation when we use ChatGPT in crafting our emails. What about the others? What are some of the benefits that you have experienced?
For me, I use it to simplify like emails. Kunyari email yung customer or teacher ng sobrang haba. I use it to simplify so I get the gist of the email already. Like, instead of reading the entire thing and then not getting the point, I use GPT to simplify it.
Okay, so more on summarizing yung mga lengthy emails from customers. Okay, very true. That is another way or another reason why ChatGPT is handy in customer service. Anyone else who would like to share the benefits that they have experienced while using ChatGPT?
On my end, I use it to translate languages. So
very true, right? So si ChatGPT, trained na siya in multiple languages. So it can also help us translate. I think mas accurate siya kesa dun sa mga older, yung mga naunang versions ni Google Translate. Pero it's already integrated na din ngayon sa Google eh. So medyo mas accurate na din yung translation niya. Anyone else who would like to share?
Ako I use it Ako I use it if I need to get some instructions, especially if it's outside our app. For example, if I need to give simple instruction how to take a screenshot, how to navigate their phone, because we have old clients who doesn't know how to go to their settings, so I don't have to go to Google na to search pa.
Oh, medyo nakaka-stress yun na hindi nila alam gamitin yung phone nila. No? But yeah, that's very handy then. I agree, especially if we are dealing with yung mga less tech-savvy customers natin. Very handy si ChatGPT when giving out simple instructions. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing. What about yung mga limitations naman or yung mga not so pleasant experiences natin with ChatGPT? Have you ever encountered any of them?
Yeah. I think one of the limitations that I've experienced is it doesn't understand political nuances. So, for example, if you're talking to someone who's well based in somewhere else, it doesn't have an understanding of the political correctness of certain things. That's a
Yeah.
limitation. It also doesn't understand, I guess, the depth of frustration from customers or the depth of disappointment on them. So sometimes it just comes in very cold.
I agree, no? It lacks empathy kasi di ba? AI is not very good at that just yet. Thank you very much, Eliza. What about the others?
Ako, ang my experience, parang ChatGPT, parang likes promises. Like, if let's say for example, the prompt na say no, then lengthy reply and hindi talaga niya kaya magsabi ng no. So, it's not really direct.
Ah, yes. Medyo may times naman talaga na medyo wordy talaga si ChatGPT. And sometimes it also jumps to providing resolution na wala naman dapat or hindi mo siya naman dapat nire-request and bawal siya sa policy natin. All right, thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to share?
I think parang same nga dun sa sabi ni Kai na there would be times na I couldn't really like do hitting and stuff everything. Kahit na
What
sorry.
about Eds?
For me, the limitation would be, well, number one, you have to really train it first before it really do what it needs to do. Like, lalo kapag it's the first time you used it, it's, yeah, sobrang layo. Especially the tone of voice.
Yeah.
And even sometimes, even you trained it already, it would pick up some things na you didn't really like teach it to do. So kailangan talaga you still have to be part of it. Like the output can't be the final output.
Yes, very true. So hindi siya ganun ka-reliable, no? You still have to edit and personalize your responses and also to make sure that that the information it's producing or providing are accurate. Hey, thank you very much for sharing that, CJ. Now from a customer support perspective, one of the benefits of having ChatGPT or using AI is that it's available 24/7. Right? So from a business perspective, if you are someone who is managing the customer service team, then you will not need to get an additional agent, di ba? During the off hours. So yung mga agent na hindi kailangan mag-graveyard, pero syempre sa atin hindi masyado nag-a-apply yon. Next, another benefit is quick response time. So when we talk about quick response time, ito yung mga AHT natin, di ba? If we're talking about the BPO settings, sa mga chats, I think ito na talaga yung tawag, QRT, right? So it reduces yung mga wait times of customers, especially during the busy season. Like now, holidays, usually busy ang customer service, right? Third is cost efficiency. So it's similar to the first bullet point about being available 24/7. It reduces staffing costs because it can already handle yung mga routine queries in customer service. Fourth is consistency in responses. So it ensures consistent and sometimes accurate information across different interactions as long as it is already or it has already been trained. And lastly is scalability. So when we talk about scalability, it means that it can already handle multiple questions simultaneously. So it improves yung mga oras na high ang volume sa customer service. Now, when we talk about, sorry, medyo may problem yung mouse ko when clicking. Ayan. Okay, now when we talk about limitations naman, there are a ton that you have already mentioned then. So number one, na mentioned ni Eliza earlier, right, is that it lacks human empathy. Or sometimes it can't even identify, di ba, the emotions of the customers or the people that we are responding to. Next one is limited contextual understanding. So when we talk about limitations niya, it can misinterpret yung mga complex, di ba, na mga questions ng mga customers. And katulad din ng example kanina ni Eliza, it cannot detect yung mga political, yung mga ina-expect natin na dapat politically correct yung responses niya. Right? Another limitation of ChatGPT is that it depends on training data. So if we don't train ChatGPT, diba, when we start using it, when you sign up for an account, minsan kung ano-ano lang yung binibigay na information sa atin, tapos yung mga responses niya sound very robotic, right? So we still have to train it. And we have to train it consistently. Parang tao lang din naman. Next is that it also has limited problem-solving ability. So if it does not have the data needed, then it will most likely not have the answers for the questions of our customers, or it might produce inaccurate information, which leads us to the fifth bullet. So potential for inaccurate responses. Okay. Another thing that, another limitation, I believe, of ChatGPT is that it cannot provide information ng mga real-time events or mga real-time information. So that's another thing that is, that ChatGPT is not yet capable. Okay. Do you have questions so far? No questions, promise?
No.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the common misconceptions about AI assistance. I know a lot of us, when AI was starting to get introduced, diba, into the customer service world, medyo some of us were still skeptical because we had a lot of misconceptions about how AI works and how AI would fit into the role of our customer service jobs. When you started using AI, what were some of your apprehensions or misconceptions about integrating it into the system? Yes, Miss Anne.
When I introduce AI to the team, the first misconception would be it will replace the CS job.
Natatawa silang lahat.
And a lot of people are experiencing anxiety about it because we just had like a redundancy 2 years ago. So yeah, and I always tell them that it wouldn't replace the support job because it also depends on human. Like we feed the data, we train the bots, and sometimes, especially for Insight Timer, we've been doing a lot of A/B testing. So it's very, very hard to retrain and retrain the bot so it gets the correct answer. So yeah, that's the first misconception, that support job will be will like, so they will lose the job if we integrate AI. But it's not true. Our goal is to help, is for AI to help us so we can free everyone's time so we can do more outside support. But yeah, it's not true. That's gonna replace you guys.
All right. So that I agree, no. I think that is always the first misconception when we integrate AI to any industry, not just the customer service. I remember I watched one documentary about integrating AI daw into the entertainment history. Kasi di ba nakakapag-produce na siya ng mga videos, pati ng mga bosses, di ba, it can already replicate that. So some of the worries of the people working in the entertainment industry is that they can be replaced. Kasi syempre AI, mas mababa ang talent fee, mas tipid, di ba? But in reality, I don't think AI will be replacing any of our jobs soon, okay? But the main purpose of AI kasi is to really make our lives easier. Yun naman talaga yung main purpose of AI. And I agree completely with Miss Anne. What about the others? What are some of the other misconceptions that you have heard or that you have had yourselves?
For me, when I started, I think yung misconception ko is like, perfecto na siya. Hindi pala.
Mhm.
And you'll need to like counter check details pa din.
Very true. So AI really is not perfect. Thank you very much for sharing that, Eds. What about the others?
For me, I had this feeling that because we provide certain information or data to the AI, there's this feeling that the whatever company is it, like Google or Facebook with their Meta AI, that they can use those private information or data and like sell
Ah,
it to third party
sell it to
companies.
China.
Yeah. Or Russia.
Yeah, sell
The
it to
privacy
China or
concerns.
Russia. Yeah, that's very understandable, especially when we usually, di ba, lalo na nung nag-start yung pandemic, di ba, we lived off of the internet, ang daming forms, di ba, and nag-start lahat ng ang daming scam texts, no? Napansin ko doon siya nag-start. So yeah, I understand why you would feel that way. Anyone else who would like to share some of the misconceptions that they had when AI started, making a significant appearance in our careers?
I think for me, sorry, this is not the misconception on the job itself, but
Mm-hmm.
on a much bigger scale. I think one of the misconceptions that I've had would be it would be super costly to have AI. Because it's new tech, and when it's new tech, a lot of companies would leverage on it being new, and so they would jack up the prices really high. But a good thing there are a lot of companies who are also offering this on a much cheaper price. Like ChatGPT is also free, and some other companies they don't charge you your leg just to experience AI. So that's one of my misconceptions.
I agree. I think I also had the same misconception when I started hearing about AI, that everything would be expensive and it won't be accessible to the majority of the people, di ba? But now it has proved that that is not true. Anyone else who would like to share their misconception of AI? Doesn't have to be within our roles. It can be similar to Alyssa na medyo general misconception about AI.
On my end, even before I started on the role and I was doing the researches, I had this misconception that AI is always free from biases. Because sometimes when I input, of course, it's only as good as the data that I train them on. But when I use it in other aspects, I find that it just follows the train of thought, or like the same opinions are subjective things that I input. So it's not free from biases
Very
from
true,
before
no?
the.
We would think na it would be free from biases because it's a machine, di ba? Essentially, it's a robot. But that is completely not true, because again, we learned earlier that it has to be trained first, di ba? Before it can produce responses. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your answers. Now, some of the things that I have listed down here about the common misconceptions of AI have been already discussed by you guys. So the first one is that AI is fully autonomous now. So people often believe that AI can operate without human interaction or intervention, but that cannot be further from the truth, because it has to operate and it requires regular updates. And who does that? Hindi humans, right? Another misconception or AI misconception is that it understands like humans. AI processes language, but it lacks genuine understanding or awareness of a lot of human aspects. Number one na dyan, yung empathy, right? And emotions of humans. Third is that AI is infallible daw. So many assume that AI can provide accurate information all the time, but it can still produce errors, especially with topics that are more sensitive. Katulad ng example ni Alyssa kanina, yung politics. Okay, so medyo inaccurate pa yung mga information because AI does not have enough information to provide pa yet. Because again, it's very dependent on the data that we feed it and we train it on. Next, yung shinare ni Miss Anne earlier. So sabi ng iba, or one of the biggest, I think, the misconception of having AI is that it will replace all human jobs. And as we have talked about earlier, that is not true. And lastly is that AI daw can learn on its own. So again, AI models, just like ChatGPT, need continuous training and they cannot update themselves. They cannot also produce real-time information. So it really requires constant training from us.
All I need are some better days. Yeah, all I need are some better days. Cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days.